Hello people of YouTube and welcome to the monthly review of June 2024. For some reason I'm still not used to saying 2024. Every time I press the record button I still have to stop myself from saying 2023. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. The first thing that happened in June was I went to the Netherlands, which to be fair happens very regularly for reasons that shouldn't need to be explained and will happen again in July as well. Except that time Signe will join me, which has been a while, so that'll be fun. This time around in early June of 2024, it sort of rained away and I didn't film that much of it because most of the stuff I did was indoors at families' houses. The main reason I went to the Netherlands, even though Signe and I will be back in the Netherlands a month from now, is because my granddad turned 95 and I wanted to be there for the celebrations, because when I lived in Linköping, I missed his 90th and I felt kind of bummed out about that. So we celebrated my granddad's 95th birthday, spent a solid afternoon with my mom and we hiked for 3 hours, visited my grandma, but all of that stuff didn't make it to the camera. What did make it to the camera was a family barbecue at Frank's little lake house. The night after the barbecue, I stayed at Frank's house because the next morning, Rebecca, Frank and I were gonna go celebrate Frank's birthday at the zoo. But what we woke up to was constant pouring rain. So we changed the plan slightly and went to a different zoo. Now when I say different zoo, this different zoo is a tiny little zoo, particularly focused on reptiles and insects, that both Frank and Rebecca have worked at in the past. Most important for our purposes on that unfortunate day is that they had large indoor areas, which the zoo that we were gonna go to wouldn't have had so much.
Kijk hoe klein eigenlijk. Oh.
Had je dat op film?
Ja, net. After the zoo, we went to visit Renee and Donato in their new apartment and had some dinner with them, which was sort of weird to me, but very necessary, because in my mind, Renee still lives at my dad's house, which she's only done for a couple of months in the last few years, but she's typically there when I'm there. So it was sort of a useful mental update for me to see her new apartment and that she lives there with her boyfriend. Anyway, I think we're up to speed. It is currently June the 15th. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen for the rest of June. There's a few weekends, but we don't really have any plans set out. So maybe some motorcycling? I didn't get to do anything of that in the Netherlands because, again, it rained all the time. Maybe we can go camping if the weather holds up. But really, we are just preparing for our big move that's happening a month from now, and the insanely hectic summer vacation plans that are happening just before the actual move. So July is going to be exciting, but let's see what the rest of June brings. Just like that, we're in a new location, but I'll address that in a month from now, because we've moved. As I'm talking to the camera, it's August 29th. We are still talking about June here. So let's talk about June. Next up, Signe and I drove to Dønna. Dønna is the island about 8 hours of driving north of Trondheim, where both Signe's grandparents and Signe's mom have 2 cabins pretty close together. And we went to stay at Signe's mom's cabin. A bunch of other family went to stay at the grandparents' cabin, but because we had to work and also because it was available, it was nice to have the cabin to ourselves. Also, Signe's mom's cabin is in a very scenic position overlooking the sea and stands slightly higher up than Signe's grandparents' cabin, so it's perfect for shooting time lapses from. And boy, did I shoot some excellent time lapses. Probably some of the best ones I've ever shot. There are a couple more cabins in this little area, and the gravel road that leads to this little cluster of cabins is called Artiveien. If my Norwegian and general reasoning skills aren't betraying me, that means fun road. And it's called that because there are a bunch of arts and craftsy decorations that line the entire length of the road. And it's a loop, so it makes for a pretty nice little place to take an after lunch hike. This time with Signe's aunt, Grete. Then Breivika, which is a bay/beach area about halfway across the island, right at the foot of Dønna, the signature mountain of the island that looks like the face of a man who's lying on his back. 2 years ago, time fucking flies, Signe and I went to camp here for a night before we went to Signe's mom's cabin that year. This time around we didn't go camping, but we did have a little hike, explore with Signe's cousin, Nora. Then for Dønna, the face-shaped mountain I just mentioned. Signe, Saga and I hiked up it the day before we went back home. The hike starts at Breivika. You have to walk about halfway around the mountain, which takes like half an hour, and then you start to ascend to a high point of 840 meters above sea level. Considering you start right at sea level and it is steep as shit, it is basically like walking 840 meters of very shoddy feeling stairs. But hey, the view is absolutely, arguably, probably worth the hike, especially on a clear day like this one. And after that long and steep a hike, you do get to feel quite proud of yourself when you finally get back to the car, which the car is a bit of a bastard twice during this hike. The first time is when you just get to the top, because as the crow flies, you are no more than about 100 meters from the car, except it is 840 meters straight down. But you could see it from the peak, which is very frustrating because you have about 3 hours to hike back down. Also, remember how I said that when you start the hike, you start by hiking around the mountain for about half an hour first. Obviously, you have to walk that same bit back around the mountain when you get back down, which is very nice for the first 5 minutes because for the first time in literal hours, you get to walk on a mostly flat surface. But then you have to walk 20 more minutes after you've already been hiking for like 5-6 hours. and you desperately want to be back by the car. It is just slightly demoralizing when your legs are already jello. Say that again for the camera.
I said, this is tickling my neck. And then I said, I'm feeling a little loopy right now.
Okay, I was most worried about that last part because we are currently going 95 kilometers an hour
Just
on
a
an
little
80
bit.
road.
It's shush. Don't tell my mom.
Also, how are you feeling physically?
Tired. I'm so tired.
Mm-hmm.
My legs are killing me.
Yeah, so are mine, and so are Saga's.
Probably.
Probably. Except she can't express it in words. So, very sad. We spent about 9 hours walking up and down a mountain yesterday.
Yeah.
It was exceptionally steep, so that was fun. And now we are spending 7 hours in the car, sitting cramped in one position, having our legs slowly set into one shape. So that's all excellent.
Yes, I genuinely almost fell out of the car when we stopped at a gas station to pee earlier.
Fun. Yeah, so we're doing very well, thank you. We are currently on our way home. I think I'm going to make this the end of June, even though it's already July, because there's a lot happening in July. So I think that seems fairly reasonable. So, coming up in July, we will be going to first the south of Norway by car and motorcycle. Then we're going to France. Then we're going to the Netherlands. Then we're going back to Norway by car and plane with my dad. Then we are moving, and we'll see what happens after that and how much of this I get to film, because it all sounds very hectic, except for the first week in France that's coming up. We'll be lying by the pool, and it'll be excellent. Anything to add? Any review of the last week?
Yesterday was hard.
Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to push on the positive buttons down below, and we will see you next month. Ciao.